see my screen?
Yes, it's
okay. Fantastic. So, So once again, thank you so much for inviting me to the Executive Network to share with you today. So, as you've kindly introduced me, my name is Yemi Akinsiwaju. For those who have not seen me before, engaged with me in some form or the other before, there is me. As you also kindly pointed out, I am known in many circles as the leadership catalyst, primarily because I have a passion really for equipping and empowering people in the area of leadership and organizations in the area of leadership so they can maximize their potential. Because pretty much I have found out the truth behind those words that says everything rises and falls on leadership. And so whatever I can do to help catalyze or help people maximize their own personal leadership potential and then deploy that effectively in helping their communities, their organizations, their businesses, their families, then I am all for it. Hence my moniker, the Leadership Catalyst. I'm privileged to have written quite a number of books. Two of them showing here on the screen. One is called The Leadership Jigsaw, and the other is called Thrive. My most recent publication is Thrive. And as it happens, I am actually in the process of finishing off the second volume of Thrive, and then a couple of other books on leadership. So today we'll be talking about blue skies, living beyond crisis. To start with, as kingdom citizens, we have a certain paradigm through which we need to look at the current season we're in. And to help us shape that perspective today, I want us to start by reading this passage found in the ultimate book, I call it, the Bible. It's in Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1 to 8. Now, it is important to understand that this book was penned by a man who has come to be known as one of the wisest kings who ever lived. And therefore, when such a person puts pen to paper or shares some thoughts with us, it is important that we perhaps pay attention to what it is he has to say. This was a man who led a massive kingdom. This was a man who impacted his generation and generations beyond. So I think there's something to be said for listening to the ideas he had to share with us. And he's made this point in Ecclesiastes chapter 3. To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck what is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. Verse 6 says, a time to gain and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. So, based on that, I have come personally to describe this season we're in as a season of rediscovery. What the wise king made abundantly clear in that passage we just read is the fact that whatever we're going through now is temporary. It is not permanent, and that is very important. You know, sometimes as I speak to people, different people, I find out that sometimes there's a sense of despair, which almost comes from a sense of, will this end? You know, is this the end of the world in some cases? Is this the end of me, my future? Is this the end of my hope? Is this the end of my possibilities? You know, because of perhaps there's a situation in their job environment or there's a situation in their family environment brought on by this crisis. But it's important to understand that whatever this situation is we're facing right now, this crisis, both on family levels and community levels and national levels and on a global level, this is temporary. And there will be a season where this wraps up and we will enter into a new season of hope, a new season of faith, a new season of success, a new season of prosperity. For those of us who experienced the 2008 financial crisis, there were people who, through a sense of hopelessness, actually took their own lives because they just couldn't see beyond the crisis of the situation they were in at that point in time. Therefore, it is important for us to recognize that this is a season which is temporary. Yes, it is a crisis on a global scale, but this too shall pass. And we will experience new seasons. But right now, where we're at, I choose to think of it as a season of rediscovery. So what sort of things are we rediscovering right now in this season? We're coming to discover what is truly important in life. And I can assure you, it ain't parties or things. Many people who have cars, their cars right now are sitting in their garages, going nowhere, doing nothing. People who thought that, they couldn't do without a party, during the weekend. Now there are no parties to attend. So coming to realize, hang on, you can actually survive without parties. The toys and the things that we thought were truly important in life that we couldn't do without. We're actually coming to realize that, hang on a minute, actually there's more to life than these things that we used to think were important. So we are rediscovering what is truly important in life. We're rediscovering a sense of humility. Perhaps we have achieved some measure of success in our lives. Perhaps we have achieved some measure of celebrity or celebration in any kind of endeavor that we have. Or perhaps we live in nations, for instance, in the Western world, where because of the advances in technology, we began to think of ourselves beyond what we ought. This crisis, I believe, is bringing us back to a new sense of humility and understanding that, hey, yes, as advanced as we are, yes, as successful as we are, yes, as capable as we are, there's still some things that we need to learn. And therefore, we're having to rediscover humility. And that is a powerful thing, because I believe that with that sense of humility, it serves as a tremendous catalyst to propel us to new understandings, to propel us to new sense of awareness, propels us to new levels, really, of creative thinking. Because now we understand that what we know and all that we are is not all there is to be, and is not all there is to know. There's so much more that we need to discover, that we need to learn, that we need to grow into. And so not just on an individual level, but on a community level, on a national level, and definitely on a global level, we're having to confront a sense of our own weaknesses. We have to confront a sense of our own inadequacies and inabilities. And that humility, I think, is good for us, because now we'll approach life, I believe, slightly differently. There's no doubt that our world has changed. And a sense of humility, I think, would certainly help us going forward. We're rediscovering the value of family. Many of us are locked, in our homes and having to rediscover the value of patience, the value of listening to other members of our family, the value of thinking beyond what just we want, but what the rest of the family wants. We're discovering the value of engaging with one another, showing love, showing compassion for one another, rediscovering what is important to our spouses, what is important to our children. We are rediscovering the value of family. Because before this crisis, COVID-19 crisis hit, most of us were, those who are working in jobs or careers will probably leave home in the morning before our children get up and come back home after they've gone to bed in the pursuit of career success. But now, based on the circumstances and situations that most people are in, they're coming to realize, okay, actually, family is important. We're discovering the power of friendship and loving relationships. It's amazing. For those who are on WhatsApp, the WhatsApp platform, the explosion in the number of messages that come through on WhatsApp now from friends, family, long lost ones that haven't been in touch with or haven't been in touch with me for a long time. Why? Because we're beginning to rediscover the power of friendship when we're, too busy really to pay attention to those friendships and relationships. And now we're forced to confront the fact that we have neglected those important relationships in our lives. I think definitely this season that we're in is enabling us to rediscover the power of those friendships and loving relationships. Each one of us is rediscovering the spirit of responsibility at a higher level. Each one of us, as we adhere to the social distancing rules in our different nations, are making life and death decisions. We're making choices that affect us, that affects our families, that affects those around us. And therefore, I believe it is imposing on each one of us now a fresh sense of responsibility. For some people who perhaps in the past thought that, hey, nobody can tell me what it is I should do. I can do whatever it is I do, whenever I want to do it, however I want to do it. Now this situation is forcing us to confront the fact that, hang on a minute, the choices that I make, the choices that you make, has massive repercussions for other people, not just in my immediate environment, but people on the streets. And pretty much, I guess we're coming to understand what is called the butterfly principle, which is that a decision or a choice that is made somewhere across the ends of the earth has a ripple effect on things that happen in other parts of the world. This crisis, kicked off in Wuhan, and very, very quickly is reverberated to over 203 nations and territories around the world. In the same way, there are choices and decisions that each one of us are making right now may not be as critical as imposing life or death on individuals through ill health. But I think this is recreating, and I'm certainly hoping that it will create a new sense of responsibility in each and every one of us, that we are daily making choices. We are daily making decisions which have consequences. A wise man that I respect once said that the secret of our future is hidden in our daily routines. And therefore, this season and the choices we're having to make around social distancing is actually causing us to recognize, I think at a deeper level, that we have tremendous responsibility. And we have to take those responsibilities seriously. We each are making choices that have consequences, not just for us, but for generations even yet unborn. The next thing we are rediscovering is the value of long-term thinking. Many people perhaps lived just for the moment. The Bible says, of a body of people who said, let us eat, drink, and be merry, for today we die, and no one knows the value of tomorrow. However, this situation is forcing us to confront the fact that there is life, there are choices that we're making that have to transcend this very moment. There are choices that were made by some of our leaders in yesteryears, but they were not thinking of the impact of those choices and those decisions for the long-term future. I was quite fascinated. Unfortunately, the consequences have been, tragic. As I listened and to a lot of commentary about what's happening in African nations, particularly, where for so many years they have ignored their health infrastructure. Even here in the UK, you find out that we have an NHS, which you might call the envy of the world. However, even in the UK, they have come to realize that some of the choices that they had made in the short term for political expediency or for economic expediency in the moment is now coming back to haunt us. And so we're coming to realize the value of long-term thinking. And we're coming to realize that there are decisions we need to make now that have to transcend either personal benefit, political benefits, to think of its potential impact on generations beyond us, years, 20, 30, 40 years beyond us. And that will inform some of the decisions we need to make regarding allocation of resources. If you own a business, if you have a family, if you run an organization, if you're a community leader, what choices and decisions are we making right now? And what are the potential impact of those choices over the next 10, 15, 20, 30 years? This crisis is forcing us to confront the value of long-term thinking. Now, we're also rediscovering compassion and interdependence. We're coming to realize that, hey, the people who we thought perhaps were not as important in the past, how so much we depend on them. I remember, a few days ago, as I saw a delivery driver who came and helped deliver some items that we needed for my organization. And as I looked at him, I thought, it is amazing how much most people don't really take notice of these people. I think of the many stories of the delivery drivers who are having to take food to homes, people who order food from supermarkets and stores, people who deliver products for pharmacies and stuff like that. Most people pass them in the street without paying them any mind. But now we come to realize that no matter how big you are, or how successful you may think you are, we are all interdependent. We've come to realize really that there's no such thing as a self-made man or self-made woman. Every one of us depends on each other. There is a sense of interdependence. We've also come to rediscover the spirit of compassion. We're coming to realize that, hey, truly the maxim is true that there is no man who is an island. We're coming to realize that we need to care for one another. We need to help one another. We need to think beyond ourselves as individuals. We need to have a sense of what can I do to be a blessing to other people in this season. Sometimes it may simply be just pick up the call, pick up a phone and call a friend, call a family member, call someone, just talk to them, encourage them, inspire them, help them to see beyond the crisis of today. We're rediscovering the value of compassion. And above all, I believe that we're rediscovering faith in God. I heard recently that the sales of Bibles has skyrocketed in many nations because, as we all recognize, fighting an invisible enemy is making us realize that we need to depend on an invisible source of strength and help and support. And that help and support is God Almighty. So many people are rediscovering faith in God. There are many people who are talking, who've been talking for many years about spirituality and, finding something about themselves, about rediscovering themselves and, being going deep into themselves to find who they are and their strength. And now they realize that by digging into themselves, at the end of the day, there's no anchor that can hold them in the midst of such crisis that we're dealing with. And they're having to look beyond themselves and rediscover faith in the ultimate source of hope, the ultimate source of faith, the ultimate source of joy, the ultimate source really of love. They're having to rediscover faith in God. And I certainly hope that this rediscovery will empower people beyond the now to go into the future. So in essence, this season of crisis brought on by COVID-19 is also a season of tremendous opportunity. And that really is the mindset that I want to encourage our listeners to approach this season that we're in, that it is a season of opportunity. 1 hour, 2 hours on the trains or the buses or his take on where we're at right now, uh, strengthen that relationship with God and allow it to empower you for the days ahead. It's an opportunity to strengthen your relationships, relationships with family, relationships with friends. It's an opportunity to explore a career pivot. Right now, it is not an understatement to say that many businesses, many organizations are looking at how they can do things differently. The circumstances that we're in have imposed change on us all. So they're trying to find out, okay, now that this has been imposed on us, how can we do things differently? How do we need to look at our business model? How do we need to look at how we run our organization? What do we need to do differently? And of necessity, those choices that they're making as business leaders, as community leaders, as national leaders, will have an impact on careers, will have an impact on families. So the question is, how can you also explore a career pivot based on where you're at now? If you lost your job, if you lost your career, what else can you do? If the current business that you were running is unable to survive this current crisis, what other kind of business could you actually build that repositions you for the future? I read recently, I think in the last couple of weeks, the fact that here, definitely in the UK, over 45% of leaders in the retail industry are now exploring automation as a way of delivering their services, because they realize that, okay, perhaps a lot of their businesses dependent on people coming in to serve people client facing on a one-on-one basis. However, now their staff can't come in, most of their staff can't come in, and their businesses are on the verge of bankruptcy. So they're having to rethink, how do we deliver our services? How do we deliver our goods? How do we deliver what it is we have to offer to our clients? So now is the time to do the thinking. Now is the time, explore a potential career pivot. And here's an opportunity to think very clearly. What lessons am I learning from this situation? Either as an organizational leader, and by organizational leader, I mean, if for instance, you're a family, you're the head of a family, or you're a decision maker in a family, think of yourself as you Inc., the business of you as an individual. What lessons am I learning? And document those lessons. And I think that's absolutely crucial for me to emphasize. So in essence, as leaders, we have the opportunity to vote or refocus our mindset, refocus our I would say the first thing is to recognize this as what I call a Davidic moment. Many of us remember with every Goliath says he can bear.
Can I interject if you don't mind? I was just wondering whether you could re-echo those three P's. It looks like
It's a Goliath. Okay.
looks like we lost your voice for just a second there.
To prepare ourselves for the season ahead. And part of that preparation means that we need to understand how to position ourselves. Say, for instance, I run a business. How do I position or reposition my business for what is coming ahead? What are the new skill sets that I need to develop? What are the new opportunities I need to begin to explore to position myself for opportunities that are coming ahead of us? So those are the three P's. Did you capture that?
Yes. Thanks a lot.
Okay, no problem at all. So following on from those three P's, we need to ask ourselves, what do we need to do in this season? I was saying that we need to recognize this as a Davidic moment where we are dealing with a Goliath season that challenges our abilities, that challenges our capabilities, that challenges our strengths, that challenges our weaknesses. Of that challenge is the opportunity, Davidic moment. And a Davidic moment is one where we cultivate a growth mindset. It's a growth mindset where we say, okay, yes, we know this challenge is upon us, but it's an opportunity for me to learn new skills. It's an opportunity for me to explore some of the hidden gifts that I have. There's an opportunity that you've always wanted to pursue before, and you're thinking, oh, how do I explore that? Because you're so busy in your work, in your career. Now, there's quite a bit of downtime for many people. This is the opportunity to now explore. There's a do that we need to cultivate a growth mindset. It's an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to give us new ideas on how to overcome, new ideas on how to we can be in whatever sphere of endeavor we're living in. Cultivate a growth mindset. PT parties are not a time to feel despondent. Yes, we hear the news of what is happening out there. We hear the news of challenges. We hear the news of deaths. We hear the news of inadequacies in our health systems and stuff like that. Yes, we recognize those are happening. But it's also a time for us to think, okay, despite what is happening, what do I need to be learning now? What new information do I need to be putting in my mind to prepare me? Things do I need to be exploring? As an organization, if I run an organization, what new areas of opportunity do I need to be exploring for life beyond COVID-19? You know, if you run a church, obviously in the past, many churches, buildings, to learn, cultivate a new approach. So, beyond COVID-19, what would you need to do? To maintain, and what you need to do of the matter is that many people will now think able to survive for the last 3 6 months without physically into the physical structure and still get nourishment spiritually and be empowered for my day-to-day life. Now, not everybody will make that decision, but we have to be prepared again to think about, okay, we as a church, how do we as an organization grow out of the R in a season of tremendous in the way we run our operations, in the way we run our businesses, the way that we run our churches, have become by force the de facto approach that we have to take in this season. We don't know in the days ahead. As we navigate that article, asking his kingdom is an eternal kingdom that is not shaken by the current situation. It impacts and therefore when we tap into that invisible realm as kingdom citizens, that gives us maintain a sense of comfort with uncertainty, knowing that has already gone ahead of us into the future and he's bringing us into that future, helping us navigate the way forward. But he wants us to enter that future with confidence, with hope, with a sense of assurance. He wants us to enter that future at a higher level than the level at which we entered this COVID-19 crisis. So we have to become comfortable with uncertainty. We also have to learn to speak faith and confidence to ourselves and to our different spheres of influence. We as kingdom citizens need to recognize that wherever you are, you have been placed there fair leader when there's crisis, they themselves
It looks like we're
are having a constituency. Yes, you were saying?
yeah, it looks like the line is breaking a bit. Just wondering, I think the signal was breaking a bit, so we sort of missed the last few um, things you said, I think in the last minute or so.
Okay, right. Okay, I'm not quite sure why that is happening. Can you hear me clearly?
It sounds a bit better now. Sure.
Okay, the joys of technology. Okay, so yes, so what I was saying was that one of the things that we need to do in this season is to speak faith and confidence to ourselves and to our different spheres of influence. That instead of being purveyors of bad news and helping to amplify the fear or amplify the sense of division that this situation might bring on, or to amplify the criticism of leaders who we think are not doing enough, that we need to be people who are speaking faith and confidence into the situation and helping amplify positivity, helping to amplify hope in people, helping to amplify, you know, intensity to criticize leaders. Think, oh, the outside the leaders control their nation. So I think it's spirit, support them as best as you can, because they're also trying to hope will help their constituency as best as they can, whilst also having at the back of their own mind their own personal challenges that they have to deal with. So I think it's important for us to help, support, and encourage one another, including the leaders that we're privileged to engage with. Next, we have to choose to be a solution. The David and Goliath is the fact that he chose to be every one of us as, and we need to be asking us the simple decision to refuse to forward onto a WhatsApp group something negative. Really, it's about in the little or big things that we do, we must choose to be a solution, knowing that every choice that we make has an impact, no matter how small, that can have a tremendous ripple effect in the lives of others. So we must choose to be a solution. And we must also choose to look beyond the season. Based on the things I've said before and the ways we can approach it, learn, grow, read books, read books that empower you for the journey ahead. But look beyond this season. It's fascinating, as I was preparing for our time together today. What happened after the 2008 financial crisis that pretty much decimated the familiar today, did not every one of us, this company started after the economy being in shambles and life being difficult. There were some people who were looking at it, and WhatsApp, Pinterest, this just a few impacts global influence. So I guess the question is this: God has given us a tremendous mind, and have, if deposited in us through God's Holy Spirit as kingdom citizens, what can we do beyond this season? What new opportunities can we tap into to make a significant difference, not just in our lives, but in our world? So we need to look beyond this season. Like I said, what business is on the inside of you right now that you can launch out of this crisis to impact our world? What book is locked up on the inside of you that, because you've been so busy over the last few years, you haven't been able to find the time to write? Now is the season to write those books that will change somebody's life. What song do you have that is locked up on the inside of you that you haven't taken the time to write? Mind quiet is locked up. I was looking at one of my friends, and I tremendous page now. Look beyond the season. As a kingdom citizen, how do we there's greatness on the inside of each and every one of us. This is the period to say, okay, I am going to discover all that God has placed within me for this season. I am going to develop it. I am going to nurture it. And I'm then going to deploy it for the benefit of humanity. That, for me, is one of the most powerful things that we can do with this season that we're in. The truth of the matter is this: you, my friend, who are listening to us today, you have been prepared for such a time as this. All the struggles of the past, all the challenges you past, the ups and the downs and the vicissitudes of life have prepared you for such a time as this. Remember this moment when David was facing the lion when he was tending his father's sheep, as recorded for us in the scriptures. And the lion, and he had an encounter with the lion, came on his private greatness at such a time as this. At such a time as this, the world is looking for new solutions, looking for new ideas, because the old ideas have fallen by the wayside, and they're finding many of them inadequate dealing with the world that we find. The door is now profound, deposited in you. You practice blue sky thinking. Will comes my help. My help comes from the Lord. Eyes onto the hill. You look beyond present. You practice blue sky thinking. You look beyond that. Despite the challenges of the present, the sky is still shining bright. It is a time. It's 19 in the sky each day. And when we step out, we will see that God remains. As long as the earth remains, seed time and harvest shall not cease. This is the time to plant seeds of wisdom, learning, growth, preparation, positioning, knowing that the harvest will come in the days beyond COVID-19. As a great leader, we practice blue sky thinking. We begin to think creatively with the situation that is with us right now. We begin to think creatively about how we harness this crisis. We prepare ourselves, we position ourselves, and we pivot to enter the future at a higher level. It's the present with our eyes fixed on the future horizon of possibilities. Thank you. Now, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to field those questions.
Well, thank you so much, my beloved brother. The amazing thing that I can speak into is that regardless of what technology chose to do, the
Yep.
wisdom of showing these beautiful slides more than cover any shortcoming of technologies.
Thank
so,
you.
so we were able to follow on regardless.
I'm
And
glad to hear it.
yeah, so thank you ever so much
My pleasure,
for
sir.
those wonderful insights. You've spoken on very precise points that I believe are actionable, and I'm sure that's what you really propose to do, and how you intended to enable us tonight.
Absolutely.
So, well, I will. I'm just kind of waiting on the community for any question or even um, any insight that anyone is willing to echo, any thoughts you're willing to echo. Please take this moment to share those thoughts, or in fact, any question that will help broaden the conversation in any direction that is pertinent to you. please, we welcome that input that would help significantly. You can do that over Facebook if that is easier. If you're on Webinar Jam, sure, you can do that as well. And if you happen to be connecting through YouTube, yes, that's also a platform you can use to share your thoughts with us. But I mean, I was just going to say that I maybe echo one of those points that you mentioned, and which I believe is very significant. You spoke extensively about opportunities that abound, especially in times like this, and you you echoed a thought around how Facebook, I know WhatsApp, rather, WhatsApp,
Yes,
Pinterest, and Uber seized the moment in times of
absolutely.
crisis. You also link that back into crisis moments in scriptures, how that it's a time to plant rather than a time to cower in and to go back into our shells. Um, and I just wonder whether you just want to even flesh that up even more um, in any way.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, like I said earlier, the truth of the matter is this: our world has changed, no doubt about it. There are businesses that will fold up, and there are businesses that will emerge. There are churches that will collapse, and there are churches that will thrive. So the issue isn't that we have a crisis, it's how each one of us responds to this crisis to position ourselves for the future. Because every one of us is having to contend with what is going on in some form or the other. Of crisis is that it's in life. If, for instance, we don't have a crisis and our business, we have a business, we think, oh, my business is the best thing since sliced bread, until it is actually tested. And you now find out that actually there's some particular weaknesses in my business model that I hadn't really contemplated before. But it took the crisis to reveal those hidden weaknesses. You know, if for instance somebody's, and perhaps fooled myself into thinking that, hey, I'm a general, and how calm I truly am when you're under pressure. There's nothing like pressure to release to the or woman, as the case may be. We need to think blue, need to think creatively about what can I do, what opportunities am I discovering based on where we're at right now. Now, it's amazing. New heroes will arise out of the situation. I'm not sure if you've heard the story about an elderly gentleman who was a world of the. It's amazing. Just decided to do was look over these many years, and guess what? What he did, take his Zimmer frame, took 100, I think it's
Uh,
of his original goal. Listen, his original goal was to raise £1,000. No, sorry, was to raise £2,000. His original goal was to raise £2,000. Then I think within 48 hours, he had raised 70,000 pounds. Okay. All just by walking with his Zimmer frame back and forth because he wanted to give back to the community that has been a blessing to him, the NHS. It's been a blessing to many of us here in the UK. Guess how much he has raised as we speak? At last count, when I looked, this gentleman had raised over 12 million pounds
Yeah,
for the NHS.
that's right.
Now, that is a hero, in my view, who has looked at what can I do to be a solution. And I mean, before this crisis broke, if he had said, I was going to walk with my Zimmer frame to and from my garden, okay, 100 times, most of the world probably say, "Oh, bless the old man," you know, you know, you know, he's doing his best. Chances are he would not be able to raise 12 million pounds. But the context of the situation that we're in right now means that he has looked at how can I be a solution? How can I contribute something? No matter how little, it started off as a little goal in his mind. He had no idea that he was going to be raising 12 million pounds and counting. So in the same way, what can you and I do right now, no matter how little? We have no idea how big it can become. We have no idea whose life it can touch, even if it is just one person's life. And that one person's life can make a significant difference in our world.
Sure.
And so that is the point I'm making, that just like those entrepreneurs in their particular sphere of, or their particular arena of endeavor was business, and they emerged out of the crisis of the 2008 financial crisis with new ideas, new creativity, exploring new opportunities. They applied blue sky thinking to their situation. And out of that emerged these new businesses that have come to transform and revolutionize our world. In the same way, everyone listening to us today can also begin to think, what can I do differently, no matter how small? What can I do? What solution can I be to my community? What solution can I be to my family? What solution can I be to my organization? What solution can I be to my business? What can I do differently? And that will make a difference in someone's life, in my community life. That is the kind of thinking that we need to bring to the table, with a sense that, hey, this will take me beyond COVID-19. I am thinking beyond the current crisis because I know that this too shall pass. This is temporary. As the wise king said, there is a time and a season for every purpose under heaven. There is a time for COVID-19 and there's a time beyond COVID-19. So we as kingdom citizens and leaders in whatever sphere of life that we live in, we operate in, must cultivate that mindset and position ourselves, pivot into 2020 beyond COVID-19 to know that, hey, the choices we're making now revolutionize our future. As it happens, in one of the WhatsApp groups, I'm on, somebody put a post on it and they said, oh, who would have thought that the letter C would destroy 2020? Corona, C stands for corona, C stands for contaminate, C stands for crisis, C stands for, and all of that. And I had to write a rejoinder and say, no, sorry, I disagree. C, the year has not ended. Yes, we've had a torrid beginning to it, but hey, this too will pass. Okay? And we can end 2020 strong. We can end 2020 with a greater sense of hope, a greater sense of aspiration than we've entered it, than we've experienced thus far. But it is something we have to be intentional about. It is something we have to determine in our own mind and our hearts that, hey, this is how I intend to navigate this season, with a personal sense of hope in God, faith in His love, faith in His capacity to bring me through, and faith in the sense that, hey, beyond this, I will thrive, I will flourish. One of the things we know from the Bible, the scriptures, we know that even in a famine, Jacob prospered. Therefore, in this season, kingdom citizens can prosper. In this season, we can transcend the challenges, the doom and the gloom and the negativity. We can transcend it to be a fountain of hope, of faith, of wisdom, of truth, of courage to our world. Because pretty much those are the things that our world is looking for from us right now. They're looking for somebody who will speak faith to them, who will speak confidence to them, who will let them know that, hey, we will overcome this. In a way, sometimes when I listen to some critics of our leaders, they turn around and say, oh, we're not going to overcome this by, what do they call it? I've forgotten the phrase that they use, pie in the sky promises. And sometimes I have to say, what do you expect them to say? What do you expect them to say? Oh, we're not going to overcome. We're not going to succeed. We're not going to come through this. Come on. This is a time when people need hope. This is a time when people need their hearts rekindled in faith. This is a time when people want to have a sense that they are going to overcome and that there is life beyond what we're dealing with right now. And it is people like you and I, it is people who have been infused with the Spirit of God, who have been infused with knowledge of God, with the relationship we have cultivated with God over the years. It is people like us who have been infused with a different mindset, a kingdom paradigm, who need to come to the fore in this season to release the world of. It is at times like these that I call Davidic moments, that the Davids, as it happens, your name is David, isn't it? So these are seasons for David to step out of the shadows, to take their place as solutions that our communities, our nations, and our world needs.
Many, many thanks indeed. And I think you summed that up quite rightly. Indeed, leaders are dealers in hope. You made that point. And it's also apt that you echoed the experience of that veteran, 102, I believe.
Yep.
So it's doing far more than people who are his great grandchildren.
Yep. Totally.
So, and that just echoes what's possible, the art of what's possible. And that's really the encouragement that you've been sharing with us tonight. We can certainly lock into the opportunities. We can see them, discover them, as you said, and we can develop, we can pick up the things that we've not had time to look into because we've been so busy. And now that I have more time on our hands now,
Indeed, absolutely.
pick them up, and with a view to deploy ourselves rightly as the opportunities open up. And they will open up because,
Absolutely.
you rightly said, this too shall pass.
Definitely. Definitely.
Wow, thank you so much for those wise words and those.
Most welcome, sir.
By the way, the books
Yes, sir.
that you showed us at the beginning, I'm sure they are
Yes.
available on Amazon. Would
Yes, they
you?
are available on Amazon. The
I was wondering if you would be kind enough to just display them on the screen so that anyone who wants
okay.
to have a look at them can go check them up or look them up.
Definitely.
I think this would be good reads for this time as well. So
Most certainly. Most certainly. Okay. So let's go.
yes. Well, whilst our beloved speaker is doing that, I just wanted to just echo to all of our friends and partners that certainly we're looking forward uh, to bring up even other speakers who are no strangers to us, people who have been blessings to us in this community. Thank God for my brother Yemi Akinsiwaju, who's been with us tonight. It's always a delight to have him.
Thank you.
We will do repeats of this.
I mean, one other thing I just want to leave our friends with these two questions that they want to perhaps write down. And these two questions are this. I've kind of alluded to it earlier, but it's something that I think is worth just writing down. And this is this. The first question is this. What three things would I need to do to ensure that my 2020 would be my very best year yet? So that essentially, if I strip away everything, what three things that if I accomplish this by the end of 2020, I would know that, yes, this has been a successful year for me? What three things? That's the first question. And then, of course, based on those three questions, you put in place. So, based on that first question and the three things that you have identified, you begin to map out the actions you need to take from now that will help you accomplish those three things. So that's the first question. The second question is this. How will those three things benefit my world? So the second question is a clarifying or refining question on the first one, in the sense that the new found sense of responsibility that we're cultivating will ensure that those three things we mentioned are not just selfish goals, taking us back to business as usual in the past. It is about contribution. It is about impact. It is about making a difference in someone else's life significantly. So with those two questions, I believe that many people will emerge into a new dimension of effectiveness, productivity, and impact in our lives beyond COVID-19.
I believe so too. Thank you so much. Well, I've posted those two questions on the Facebook page. If you missed them, just refer to them again. And please, more importantly, do answer them. And I'm sure in
Absolutely.
answering them, you would reach deeper into what lies within. Well, can I also announce that next week I'm hoping to welcome with us here on the platform our friend Trista Sue Craig.
Ah, fantastic.
So we confirmed that, but she
Ah,
said that she could be available. So And then,
I look forward to come and learning with you.
oh, that would be great to.
She's a phenomenal leader.
And next after that, we are looking to host Dr. Carlos Sese. So
Wow.
right after that, I've decided I want to take up. I mean, I've sharpened my pen to make notes, to be a good student in this season, and that started for me from last week.
I like that. That's absolutely fantastic.
Yes, I'm really delighted, and thank you once again, sir, for coming.
And thank you so much for inviting me. I'm truly honored, and I certainly hope that the time we've shared has been a blessing to
Indeed.
your network, your community. I certainly hope that they will apply the ideas we've shared.
Absolutely. Yes, thank you very much, sir. And then, of course, big thanks to all of our friends and all of our community leaders. People, you say this platform is for people who are contributors. That is, they are leading in a significant work to contribute to the sphere in which they operate. That's what the community is about. So I want to thank you for all that you do and continue to do. And of course,
Absolutely.
how to downfield. It's time to even use this opportunity, this situation, to revamp and to thrive, as that book says. Then,
Absolutely.
so thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir.
I want to welcome you, I'm sure, very soon.
I look forward to that again.
Wonderful blessings to your family. And
Thank you so much, and to yours, and to every one of us who joined us. Thank you so, so much. It has been a tremendous pleasure and honor to share time with you, to give you some insights. I look forward to hearing from you about how this has been a blessing to you. Thank you so much.
Indeed. And with that, we'll sign off for tonight. Thank you all. God bless, and see you next time. Thank you, sir, and see you soon.
Thank you, sir. Awesome.
Bye now.
Welcome.